Well, thanks for coming. Last Saturday was a beautiful day. God gave us good weather and a good atmosphere, and we kind of didn't do our part, as the football program. Virginia State's a good football team. Senior, junior, senior laden group. That was the third year I've coached against them as a head coach. The two previous years we played them at Cal, and when I walked out on the field, I saw a lot of the same kids that I'd seen the previous 2 years. When I spoke to their staff in pregame, they talked to me about how good their camp had went and what a good team they felt they had and how good they were going to be. And then when the game started, you could really see it. I mean, we were really out physical on both sides of the ball. I thought our kids grew up a little bit in the game. We played a lot of young kids, some by design, some by because we had to. It's just kind of the hand we've been dealt at this time. And I thought a lot of our kids showed up and did okay physically and could play at that level of game. I also thought there was kids that couldn't, that really struggled, in that type of game. You could see the difference between freshmen and redshirt freshmen as opposed to some of their junior and senior players. After the game, the coach was very complimentary to us, said, "Yo, boy, coach, we've got a good thing going here. Hate to play you in a couple years." The thing I told the team after the game was, when I was at California a year ago, our team was better than Virginia State that day, but our program as a whole was not as healthy as it needed to be. Here, it's just the flip side of that. Our team is not as good as it needs to be at this time, but our program is very healthy. We've got the commitment, we've got the facilities, we've got the allotment of scholarships, and we got a lot of good young players who just need a year in the weight room, play game speed stuff, and once we get into that, I think we got a chance to be a very good football program. I came here hoping to build a football program for the long term and not get caught up into from Saturday to Saturday. A lot of our kids got to see what real college football was like last Saturday, and I think we'll learn from that and we'll be better because of it. And last night we had some very honest meetings. The one thing that I am disappointed in, and I blame this comes back to me, is I don't feel that we played as hard as we could. For whatever reason it is, we've been having some very hard practices. Guys have been laying on the line in practice, and I don't know if it was the nerves or just not understanding what game speed is like. But when I went back and watched the tape, I was disappointed with our effort, and that reflects poorly on me and the staff, and it works its way down into the players. And that's one thing that, I made a promise to the players that we would not have anymore. Win or lose, being able to run, catch, block, tackle, those are skills that you're going to develop, but playing hard is something that we just need to be. And that's not who we were this past Saturday. And it's something we're going to correct this week in practice, and will be this Saturday. North Greenville, as John said, is a good football team. I mean, I believe they beat Lenoir-Rhyne a year ago, snapped, what did you tell me, a 22-game win streak for Lenoir-Rhyne. And that was the first loss they'd had in a while. They're a good football team. They got a lot of returners back. Very good defensive football team. They do some stuff schematically that's going to be very challenging for us. They like the blitz. They're a 3-4 team. They disguise it. They play a lot of cover two. They don't show their hand very well. They're a very well coached football team. Offensively, they like to get in two tights and they like to run the stretch play, and they're going to feature that run game. And their running backs are going to be very similar to what you just saw this past week at Virginia State, guys who will jump through your arms and who will run hard and play downhill. I don't believe they throw the ball quite as much as they did a year ago. I don't know if that's by design or there's their quarterbacks. They've changed quarterbacks, I think, from last year. A kid graduated, and they're relying heavily on that run game. And by the way we played run defense on Saturday, I'm sure that they're going to look at us and try to run the ball against us. I would imagine their scheme is their scheme. Defensively, I believe they're going to fire zone us and blitz us some and try to take our receivers out by just covering them, and that's a little bit of what Virginia State did to us as well, and we really had a hard time with that. And we knew coming in, I was joking this morning that when I was at my press conference, I knew that was going to be something that we had to overcome. You don't go from a triple option offense to what we're trying to do and have overnight success. It just doesn't work that way. I wish it did. I wish that the plays that we brought in from Cal and Concord were just magic plays, and you just throw them out there and they work without the work or without the process, but they simply don't. I mean, this is going to be an ongoing process. We are up for it. I'm not going to shy away from it. I came ready to go on Sunday, and we were here about 13 hours yesterday, and we got 13 hours better. And we're going to be here that long today, and we're going to get that much more better today, and our players have bought into that. And as long as we keep a positive attitude, and continue to grow, then I'm going to be positive in that way. And when it becomes negative, then we'll deal with those things when they come up. But right now, the atmosphere around the place is we need to play better. I mean, we need to not play better. We need to play harder. You know, I think some of the playing better is subjective. You know, that's going to come over time. But playing hard's got to be an all-the-time thing, and that's my number one goal for this week coming up. I love our kids. I'm going to live and die with them, and I think we've got talent there. I really do. Anyone who watched the game, I mean, I got a million comments that you look smaller than slower than they were, and you know, I commented back, it's not your imagination. We are smaller than slower than they are, and that only changes one way, and that's getting bigger and faster people. Now we got a lot of kids who are young who physically are big enough and fast enough to play at that level, but they aren't quite ready. You know, they don't know the names of the plays yet. You know, they haven't got there. And the line for us as coaches is, at what point do we pressure that and put them in there? You know, because we're not giving up on the season. We're not giving up on this week's game. You know, we're going to try to be 10-1, and if we lose this week, we're going to try to be 9-2. Every week, we're going to try to bring it the best that we have. It's the line of, at what point is this kid ready to go in? And a lot of those freshmen, they need a winner. I mean, I saw that Virginia State team, and I know all those kids because I played against them the last 2 years, and I looked over and went, man, that kid, his arms are bigger this year. They've had 2 or 3 seasons, you know, in the weight room, 2 or 3 years of working out, and we're just not there yet. We've had 6-8 months of it, and they've had, you know, a couple, 2 or 3 years of it. They're a good team. They'll compete for the league championship. I think that's a good football team you saw in Virginia State Saturday. I do not think that they are a top 20, 25 year in, year out program. I don't believe that, and historically they haven't been. They have made the playoffs a couple times. I came here to Lenoir-Rhyne thinking national program, and I knew that wasn't going to happen in week 1 or even week 8. It's going to take, but it's not going to be year 8 either. It's going to be sooner than later, or I'm going to lose the rest of my hair. You know, that's not, and we don't want that to happen. I'm sure you have some questions. I was told last week it was probably too long of a press conference, so I'm not going to try to talk as much, and I'll be glad to answer any of your questions.
Do you expect more out of your front seven on defense?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, yes. I mean, we went back and watched the tape, and I mean, I thought Chris Green played like a man on Saturday, and we need a team of Chris Greens. You know, I mean, we're out there like, Chris, you got to make this play, and then what happens to Chris is he tries to jump out of the gaps and be Superman and make plays that he doesn't need to make, that he's got to rely on his buddies to make. We've got 3 really good freshman D linemen that we signed, and last thing we wanted to do was play them. But if we're going to play run defense like that and not get any pass rush at all, then we might as well play them. You know, because if the juniors and seniors ain't going to do it, you might as well go with the young kids. And we're not making wholesale changes on that just yet, but we do need more out of them. We had 2 linebackers who started who were both getting their first collegiate start, and I believe they will be better this week than they were last week. They played at times like guys who could play at this level and be all-conference type guys, and they played at times like they were 2 guys getting their first ever collegiate start. You know, there was a play, like third play of the game, they run an ISO play right at us, and our one linebacker's dropping in pass coverage. And we watched the tape, we're like, what did you see to make you think? You don't know if it's the nerves or the moment or what it is. You know, those guys out there who are young kids like that, sometimes they see ghosts, and they're better than what they played. We need them to play better. And some of these young kids, ready or not, need to step up and be part of the future. And the future's Saturday.
All right. Your secondary has been really banged up
Mm-hmm.
a lot. You're already missing 1 player for the year.
Yeah.
What about the other 2?
Well, I tried to keep it a secret the best I could. Marcus, I actually found out Friday that he was definitely done for the year. Marcus Kincaid tore his ACL the Saturday before, backpedaling with no one around him. I mean, it was a freak deal. He's in a drill and he's backpedaling, and a hitch is caught, and he goes to plant and he goes down. And we didn't know what it was at the time. Obviously, you know, that's one of the injuries you suspect. Kyle Duggar, who's the returning freshman of the year, who's probably as good, if not the best player on the team. I would think the kid's got an NFL future. He may or may not have a meniscus. You know, he definitely has a meniscus issue. As to what level, we don't know. He saw one doctor here in Hickory. He's going back home tomorrow to see a different doctor. And if it's one type of surgery, he's done for the year. If it's a different type of surgery, he's probably done for another 4 or 5 weeks, which at that point, you evaluate and see where you're at. And then the other two starters, Dominique Britt has a bone bruise, and the other corner, same boat, has a bone bruise. Both went through the walkthrough last night, and we hope we're back, this week. But what you saw Saturday was Rodney Singleton and an all freshman secondary. So you saw guys who were brought in to be redshirted or back up, and you saw them starting. And some of that's like the one touchdown on the 3rd and 18. They got trips to the left and one guy to the right, and they motioned the back out to the left, and someone in our secondary calls the rotation to go away from the 4-man side, and they throw a swing route to their running back, basically trying to give up on the play and get in field goal range and walk in from the 25-yard line for a touchdown. And that's just youth going wild. And I'm not saying that because I hate when coaches stand there and say we were young. I look at it as an excuse. I'm not building an excuse. I'm just saying this is what you saw. And we have to identify as coaches. We have to say, okay, well, we may need to even simplify even more than we are. I usually go into a game with a call sheet this big, front and back. I had one this big, and then, like, where's all these good plays? I'm like, we can't run those. We're not ready for that yet. Things will really go haywire. It'll be 56-7 if we start trying to do too much.
With your new secondary, do you expect North Greenville to try to test you guys, even though they are a running team?
Yeah, well, I think teams are going to do what they do. They went all through spring ball and all through fall camp, playing a certain style, and I think they know who their best players are, and they're going to try to play to that strength. But you're silly as a coach if you don't try to take advantage of another team's weakness. And I don't think, I love those kids in the secondary. All them kids can play here. All them kids can be all league players. It's just you saw their first ever college football game. All those kids graduated in high school in June, and now they're here. They've had 17 or 18 or whatever it was collegiate practices and 2 scrimmages that were, basically a quarter and a half worth of football. And now you expect them to go in and play against a team that's senior laden and, has the school's all-time single seasons and leading rusher returning, and he's their number 2 back. So, it's a man's game out there.
On offense, you got, how has the progression been with the receivers and the quarterback? I know some during the game last week there was some communication issues between receiver and quarterback.
Well, no, it really wasn't communication as much as this guy's getting beat. It's really as simple as that. If a kid's got a corner route and it's a 25-yard corner route and he gets jammed up at 5 yards, and then there's pressure and the quarterback throws a 25-yard corner route, then everyone's like, oh, how could you guys be that bad? Well, it's easy to do. It's just, I don't think our receivers are more than capable. For the most part, there's a couple of kids who are really struggling physically, but the young kids could all do it. There's no doubt in my mind. But they don't understand. They kept coming to the sideline going, Coach, they're holding me. They're holding me. And I'm like, no, they're not holding you. They're guarding you. Like on the movie Days of Thunder. That's Robin's racing. That's what that is. That's called you got bumped. You got knocked, and that's not going to get called. This isn't your local high school game. They're going to let them be physical with you. And those same 2 corners, last year at Cal, we were 13 of 14 throwing against them for almost 400 yards. I think it was 398. And we ran go routes by them. But Gary Brown's a first-team All-American player, going into his junior year, and Kawan Scott was getting the Dolphins and Redskins came and worked him out. Those guys were juniors and seniors. Those 2 guys as freshmen had the same problems as what you saw some of our freshmen have. And that's how I know we will get there. I saw James Harris, as a quarterback as a sophomore, I said a week ago, I saw him do some of those same things, and I heard the crowd say the same things about him as they said about, as Jared. They don't understand, you got to be there every day and see it to know how this works. And, we're not going to give up on anything we do or on anyone we're playing, and we're at practice every day, and we know where we got to get to, and the only way to get there is to go through the process.
Coach, offensive line really struggled against Virginia State. Will we have Sutherland back this week to help on that offensive line? Yeah,
Sutherland, he got hurt in practice the Saturday before, 3 plays after Kincaid. A guy got thrown into his ankle behind him, and as of last week, we thought he could be out for the year. Last night, he ran wind sprints like nothing was wrong. So we thought it was going to be a Liz Frank. It ended up just being a slight ankle sprain, and he's going to be fine. We will move him to left tackle. The good thing, which was his starting position, the good thing that came out of this game is Cole Henderson really played a great game as a redshirt freshman at left tackle, was probably the best player on the offense from start to finish. What we're going to do is we're going to move him to right tackle where Slagle's at, and then probably let Slagle go in and play one of the guards and try to shore us up a little bit inside. Jaleel held his own in there. He's a tough kid, hard-nosed guy, and the Evans kid held his own. They did some things, some twists, and number 12 was like Superman for them. I mean, he just, everything he hit, he seemed to destroy, and, you know, he knocked us around pretty good. We had some plays where we were supposed to slice him with the tight end, and our tight ends hit him and fell off of him like they were running into that wall, and it's just, you know, we're playing with guys who, our 2 tight ends who started that game, one was a receiver last year and the other one played tackle. You know, so that's where, you know, and those kids are giving you maximum effort. They're great kids. They're doing everything you can, but they are not true 2 tight ends. You know, they're making do with what they got, and they're going to be more serviceable until, you know, we sign 2 6'5", 245-pound freshman tight end that are on the roster right now. But when I say double right, they line up left. I mean, they just, you know, they're smart kids. They just, you know, they need coached more before we could just throw those guys in there. And I thought Ray Beam did a nice job. He really drove on the corner route for the touchdown. He caught the stick route for a big first down. He needs to learn to tuck the ball away, which we've been on him, you know, pretty good about that before he ever fumbled that ball, and we got a break there. But he's a 205-pound receiver who bulked himself up to a 225-pound tight end, and at times he's up against it physically, and he knows that. I mean, he's got to be crafty, and, you know, we got to try to present some double teams and help him out in there. And he's a good kid, goes 100 miles an hour, but when he's going against the 255-pound senior defensive end who's a 4-year starter, he has his hands full sometimes, and that's what you see.
Coach, your special teams, the Steffens, real well against Virginia State.
Yeah.
Looking at that, what's your thoughts on the special teams?
Well, I knew we had a good kicker and punter. And I was hoping they would bail us out from not having great coverage teams. I thought our punt team went in and did a really, really nice job. I mean, last Saturday we totally changed the punt scheme to try to help out some of our issues in protection and coverage, and we added a little rugby to it, and we did another little cute thing up front, and they went in and performed, having not too many days. When I spoke to you last week at this time, I was practicing that every day as much as I could. And so they went in and did a nice job. Our punt return team actually did. Aaron Farmer, his first game back there, to field the punts cleanly and make some good decisions. I was very proud of him. A guy who was a quarterback 3 weeks ago, you know, is now playing receiver, and I thought he did a nice job. We had a couple misalignments with that. Some of that's first game stuff when you were not really sure what your opponent's going to do. You know, the guys didn't follow their rules to get it lined up the right way. But I thought our punt return team did a nice job. Our kick team was okay. You know, Hunter Hare does a nice job kicking it in there deep, and but we didn't cover the way we should have. We ran out of lanes, and some guys jumped out, you know, and tried to run around blocks. You know, that's something guys do. You know, they don't want to get blocks, so they'll run around it. Well, that just causes seams instead of, you know, leverage and blocks. And obviously our coaches pointed that out on tape, you know, last night. And we got a 3-on-3 drill we're going to do today, which is a very physical drill that hopefully makes us grow up a little bit, and practices that. I thought our return teams were okay. Our kick return team was okay. Kind of the same thing. We need to get our hat on the right side of blocks. We didn't have any penalties in kick game. Really didn't have a lot of penalties, period, which shows you that they're a pretty good group of kids. They play a clean game. They listen to the coaching as far as that goes. I like to saw Hunter make the field goal. You know, I was going to punt it deep in that situation, and he was like, Coach, I can make this, and you know, we thought, what the heck? So we tried the long field goal, and he pulled it a little bit left. Sometimes when you get a little bit outside your range, you try to put a little bit too much on it, and you know, it's just like when you're trying to hit a wedge further than you can. You know, you'll put too much on it and pull it dead left, and I think that's what he did. But kick game was you know, a pleasant surprise in the game, and you know, Mikey DeStevens being such a good punter is really a big part of that. He kept us in it. Thank God we have him.
Coach, you talked about penalties, discipline of the team. Talk about that. Really, I think 1 or 2 penalties against Lenoir-Rhyne.
Yeah, we did a good job with all that. I mean, but some of it is we didn't get in a situation to make penalties. You know, we don't play with that crazed edge hardness that we need to play with. When you're undersized, you got to be a little bit on edge there, and we are far from that. I mean, we want it to be pretty, you know. And I keep telling our team, like, it's not easy, you know. You got to strain to block someone. You know, we could give you a technique, but somewhere in there you got to strain. You know, to get off blocks, you got to strain a little bit. You know, it's a violent game. It's a hitting game. I didn't create the game. It is what it is. It's not tennis. It's not golf. It's not one of those games. It's a game that you need a lot of physicality. And right now, for whatever reason, we don't have. And I think that was part of the problem you probably had a year ago. You know, when I coached at Concord and we played against Lenoir-Rhyne, I knew it was going to be a physical, very extremely physical game. They were going to cut a lot. It was going to be borderline, you know, dirty on both sides of the ball game. And we are not, you know, I don't know, for whatever reason, we don't really have that culture right now. And that's my job that's why I'm here. You know, if that culture would have been here, someone else would be talking to you right now. I'm here to try to change that culture. And sometimes it's calling out guys, sometimes it's drilling guys, sometimes it's teaching guys, and sometimes it's changing guys. And I'm going to do all those things, you know, in the upcoming months, you know, to get to where we need to be. I don't want to play like that. I don't mind playing bad. All right, I don't mind losing. Teams lose. Teams play bad. Teams throw picks. Teams don't that, but not playing hard to me is unacceptable, and I'm ashamed of it, you know. And I told the team last night, I can't go back. I can't stand in front of you guys and say, well, hey, when I was here, we played hard, and right now my name's on a team that doesn't play hard, and I don't want that. That won't continue. We'll flip it over if we've got to, but we're not going to be a team that doesn't play. Now, I don't want to paint the whole team with that brush, you know. About half of them play hard, and half of them would do anything they would on that field they could to win. So we gotta get this half to teach that half or change that other half, and that's kind of where we're at. Anything? You guys all ate too much. Now we're going to give it the old college try. I mean, North Greenville's a good team. I mean, I'm not so sure that they're not a better team than what you just saw this past week at Virginia State, which when you lose 34-9, you know, isn't what you want to hear. But I'm not worried about North Greenville. I continue to worry about Lenoir-Rhyne and our locker room and us growing, you know, as a unit. That's the only team that I can control. I can tell you what North Greenville is going to do on offense, defense, kicking. I got a good idea for it. We watched tape. I ran over here as fast as I could because I've been watching them for the 100th time this morning. They went on the road and beat a good West Alabama team who we open up with next year. You know, to win that game on the road late shows what their character's made of. And our hands are full Saturday, but it's not about North Greenville. It's about Lenoir-Rhyne and how well we can grow. They say the most a team grows is between week 1 and week 2. You know, I've always said that, and this will be my 23rd year, and I've always heard that. I've always said that. That doesn't necessarily guarantee you anything win-wise, but some of these kids who it was their first college game, the game will slow down for them this week because they've had that experience. And what that translates to on the scoreboard, I don't know. I'm not even really concerned about that. I just want to improve. I want to get better every day. I came here to be a national program. I came here to eventually compete for a national championship, and that has to be our culture. And right now our culture is one of entitlement, and we don't play hard. And I can't have that as the head coach here, and that starts with me. It goes down to my staff, and it goes all the way down to the top down the roster, to the last man on the roster. We all have to be on board with the style of play, with the way we compete. And if I win, lose, or draw going forward as a team, whatever happens to us, I want people to say, hey, they will compete and they will play hard, and I'll live with the rest. You know, if you're a C student, you're a C student, but you need to study all you can. You know, and if you're capable of making A's, we got some guys that are capable of making A's who study like they're C students, and I want them to be A students, and I'm allowing it to happen if I don't change it. Good? Thanks for coming. I'm probably going to grab something to eat myself, so thank you very much.